There's a lot of money on the table. These clients expect to be able to tell their creatives what to do. And you and I are the wrong fit to be that liaison.
Hey,
Which
Scott,
is
we're the wrong fit for our own company.
Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, challenging norms, episode 108, maybe 104.
Could be 92.
Could be 92. It's been a wild ride. It's been a wild 24 hours. I'm glad we're here because, oh my God, since recording 4 episodes yesterday, everything's flipped on its head again.
Yeah.
We're back.
You think like they record more frequently, they're probably going to have less material to talk about.
Yeah.
No, we have more. We have more.
Hey, a couple things I want to try.
I'm all out of energy.
And I want them on the record. I think I'm going to try a different style of vlogging. Much like the podcast, the last 24 hours. Just, maybe we link it. Peter McKinnon put out this crazy vlog, slice of life, behind the scenes iPhone review. Just like, he titled it like, iPhone 13 Pro, my honest something. And it's literally like behind the scenes, like you've never seen. And it was nice. I was in a trance for 17 minutes.
Yeah, it was slow cuts, great sound design.
Mm-hmm.
And he let the video speak for itself. It was very nice.
It was a great change of pace. So I want to try that. That's kind of what the pod was the last 24 hours, where we just need to be strapped at all hours. But maybe not. Maybe we need to say less.
I'm really worried.
Maybe we need to say less.
Worried.
I got a lot of notes.
Okay.
God, so much has happened. We had a great heart-to-heart yesterday afternoon, not completely unrelated to the business, but unrelated to the podcast.
Here's what I've realized. Talking to people is good.
Yeah.
Talking to people is nice. You get a lot on the table. Mm-hmm. A lot happens. There's back and forth. It's lovely. We were like, in the last month or two, fuck people. Oh, we've probably said it. You can probably get the clip that says fuck people.
Fuck them. Fuck Friedberg.
Fuck Friedberg. Fuck him. Especially Friedberg and his stupid dog. But
cute dog.
No, I love his dog. I love Friedberg too. He's the nicest Alwyn.
He is probably the nicest. We should probably push hardest to be friends with Friedberg.
I feel like this is going to be the Peter McKinnon vlog because I have no energy left.
That's fine because I think it'd be honest.
Here's the honest truth. We were shitting on Scott. We had a video. We haven't released it yet. We may never release it. I don't know what we're going to do with it. But we're dissecting his messages, our messages, as we renegotiate our terms with HubSpot.
Scott and a couple others.
Maura?
Yeah.
Oh,
Zach.
Like in general. Zach.
Things we've mentioned.
Zach. Also, Carmen. Social Capital. A lot of people. We scare people. That's the truth. I mean, you could see the energy. We have big dick energy coming at them. And they're like, who the fuck are these 24-year-olds? I've been working in the industry for 15 years. I'm in my late 30s. I have a family. And now these kids think they're better than us. And they're going to treat us like shit. Granted, we didn't think we were doing that. But that's how we come across.
Because we don't talk to enough people. I think this is why every single time we meet with Wano, we're like, oh. I'm starting to think maybe we need some mentors.
You mean
maybe we
like,
need some advisors.
Oh. I feel like Sam was nice. So for context, what's changed in the last 12 hours? Well, this morning, we wanted to have, I think we even mentioned it on the last podcast or one of the last few podcasts. We're like, hey, let's just message Sam and talk it through because we're having some difficult back and forths, the frame battle shit with Scott of HubSpot. Then, technically the HubSpot owns them. Then we're like, okay, let's message Sam. It was just going to be you and him talking. Mm-hmm. And then this morning, you were like, oh, Dylan, you want to be on it? And I'm like, okay, I'll be on it. And then
because I don't like asymmetric information. I don't like one-on-ones and then more people. I was like, if we're going to be on it, let's all be on it.
Right. Hey, really quick. I don't know who cares, but if you should listen to this podcast, maybe we preface it.
You should listen to this because I don't even post vlogs like this with like this much of the negative.
Yeah. And
I think what we like so much about the startup podcast is he would literally the podcast, he would literally chronicle like first his conversation with Chris Sacca, where he's stumbling over his words. He can't even pitch Gimlet Media. He's like, fuck it, post it. That's the story. That is the story. $200 million later, it doesn't matter.
Right. So we're trying to get everything because we haven't shared everything and you don't see the day-to-day. So why does this matter? We've made a lot of mistakes.
We also haven't talked this morning. So this is like this is like therapy.
This is our therapy. So listen to this. Maybe you'll learn something because we're still trying to figure things out. Like I think we talked about it last time on the podcast where we're trying to find the line, like smart nonsense. We like to embrace the nonsense. We think corporate people are way too serious. It's fucked. People don't have fun. It's one life. And it's honestly a video game. Like who the fuck knows if this is even real? So we're like, let's just be us, be honest to us. And this is kind of like our conversation yesterday where it's like, where do you find the line to be friends with people, have relationships with people, even if you're not 100% what feels natural, or like you can kind of change who you are depending on the situation.
We talked about this for 2 hours yesterday afternoon. Offline.
Yeah, which is weird for me.
Because what you said is, you said my superpower is my agreeableness. Now it's also, by definition, really disingenuous. Because I'm a different person with you. I'm a different person with my girlfriend. I'm a different person with Scott in a meeting, for instance. And we don't know if that's good or bad, right or wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of like the I Think You're Fat article by AJ Jacobs. Where you could be 100% honest, say exactly what you're thinking all the time, but that might not be the right thing to do, even though it's technically you're being as genuine as possible. And so I think for us, like I just like fucking around. That's kind of the vibe we put off. But when you don't have an in-person meeting where you can quickly, in like game terms, they call it like calibrate, like just figure out how the person's feeling, get like empathize with them. There's zero empathy or much less in text, and especially email.
And our manifesto. Like our rulebook in text with no context. It's like, who are these guys?
I almost want to do the rulebook in a video because then you could see, oh, they're just fucking around.
Video does always win for us. Every time we would like use the vlog as a nuke boost to get in the door with someone. They're like, I didn't trust these guys. Oh, then I saw the video. I'm like, they're really authentic.
Right. Because, okay, so the problem is this guy, Scott, he originally wanted to get on the phone with us because we were thinking the terms hadn't really changed. We were more so just putting in writing the relationship that already existed with like very subtle tweaks. So we hit him up at the end of August being like, hey, September 1st going forward, these are the terms. Nothing's really changed. This is what it's going to be. And he got pretty stressed out because the terms, which he probably wasn't aware of, was like, hey, we don't give a fuck about making mistakes, which is honestly the truth. We just want to make the best content in the long term. Often you have to be okay with making mistakes to do that.
It's also like not really the truth because
I care a lot.
You care a lot.
I care more than you.
I don't care that much, and I still fix mistakes.
Right.
I mean, it's not that I don't care that much. I care less about
So maybe that's
quality.
disingenuous. I'm like going over the line and I don't actually believe that, you know?
Well, we use that as hyperbole as kind of a weed out.
Right. Well, that's what I've always been taught. For example, okay. The reason why I think I lose a lot of friends is because I embrace the weed out.
Yeah. You tweeted, I'm wrong so much.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is, and the sticking point is, you're actually right a disproportionate amount. Like, and I think the reason why business is so great with you is because of how often you're right and how often you stick to your guns. The problem is when you're not right, it's really fuzzy because I'm like, Dylan's right 95% of the time. It's kind of related to the friend thing.
Who says it? It's like strong opinions loosely held. That's what I generally want to have. I forget who says it, but it's basically like hold firm where you currently are at, like based on your current logic, rationale, everything. This is where I stand. But if you have a more convincing argument, for example, we stood pretty strong with no meetings. But then the second we get like 3 people saying, hey, this is kind of fucked, like occasionally you should meet, especially right now when it's like the Hatfields and McCoys for no good reason, which is, so what's hilarious to me is
I wrote that exact thing.
Your Hatfield and McCoys. It's like your superpower is you get along with everybody, which is funny because Scott right now would probably guess the opposite. Scott's like, these guys are douchebags. They don't want to talk to me. They're probably dicks on the phone too. And I'm like, That's where you said yesterday. It's like, maybe, I even wrote this down, maybe we only do phone calls. It's like, hey, we realized we thought we were good at text, but apparently everything we know is wrong. So let's just get on the phone because that's where our personality comes out. That's where like, oh, we're people. We're trying to do the same goal. Maybe we came across as dicks, but like the winky face in text is a lot different than like the, oh no, I'm just like, I'm sorry, right. I'm kidding. Like we're not used to like dealing with adults. Sorry, we're children. Right. And it's like, oh, okay. That's all Scott needs. Is like, yo, Scott, we're like 24. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. I'm sorry. We try to be tough and like put the terms in writing, but sorry if we offended you. That's all it really needs right now. But this morning, I guess, I don't know if we want to get into the actual context of
what I wrote in relation to that is I wrote, and again, we spent the morning apart. I wrote, we're dope, really nice guys, willing to read and learn and change our minds when presented with better models, frameworks, or data. It only takes like 2 phone calls for us to be like, oh, that's the better route. 1 meeting with Juan, we're like, oh, obviously.
Right. I know, like right now, I'm like, oh, fuck, we got to rewrite the whole rule book.
Maybe, yeah.
So part of me, I'm thinking Netflix is like, do what's best for the business. I'm like, hey, if I were the business right now, I would heavily think about firing Dylan and Henry because they are dropping the ball.
I wrote this too. I said we need an operator. Because I think we have this huge chip on our shoulders where we left the creative space to start our own thing because we were tired of being told what to do. And now as a company, we don't want to be told what to do by other companies. But maybe the fact of the matter is there's a lot of money on the table. These clients expect to be able to tell their creatives what to do. And you and I are the wrong fit to be that liaison.
Hey, which Scott, we're the wrong fit for our own company.
Which is hilarious.
I wonder what Scott would say if like, hey, we honestly, given this conversation, we realized we're not even the right operators for this company.
Right. I wrote, our weakness is diplomacy, customer service, and being told what to do. It always has been. It's why we both left the creator space to start our own thing, and we have a chip on our shoulders.
Well, here's the thing. When I worked for Todd, I basically ran his company. I was like, everyone loved me. All the customers loved me because I was super hands-on customer service. Like I was super friendly. Like I was the reason why we weren't getting refunds. But it takes so much energy. I'm like, I don't want to be doing that long term. But someone could do that. And I think that's what people need is...
I used to do the same thing.
White glove.
And I was like, that takes so much energy. We have bigger, higher yield fish to fry. And making people's day takes a lot of energy when we're trying to make our team's day, which is 35 people.
What bothers me, because it's funny, we got on the phone this morning. Maybe we should say what happened.
The call wasn't a shit show, but it blew up.
People are like, what the fuck are they talking about? Because we're in it, so we kind of know. But, I want to say, basically, just getting on the phone once, it's one of those, like, prevention. 1 ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, or whatever the fuck it is. Like, 1 call with Scott a month ago, all this would be okay.
1 call with Maura a month ago would probably be the difference between this and a much larger contract.
I know, because Sam this morning... Okay, so what happened?
1 call.
What happened was Henry just wanted to get on the phone with Sam, be like, hey, FYI, you're not getting clips. Let's just talk about what's going on because we're kind of at this like weird tension point, a lot of drama. And we're like generally pretty non-drama people. I know we like do it for the podcast because it's kind of funny and like people should see inside. But they were going to get on the phone. We're like, Dylan, you want to hop on too? Let's get Scott on. impromptu.
And even in text, Scott thought this was a meeting the three of us had set up and left him out on. We set this up 2 minutes before. None of that's transmitted in text. So Scott blows up. He's like, should I be on it? Are you guys really going behind my back right now?
It's so
And it's actually
goofy.
like, no. We're all going to meet to get the ghillie out.
It's kind of, okay, so I have this problem a lot with, girl, this is game for me. Okay, game. You go out and meet a girl. You're like, that was fun. We should talk again. But when you're just fucking text on a screen, it's so easy to ghost and like not treat the other person like a person, which we've done with them. They've sort of done with us. But you get in person, everyone is awesome. It's like, wow, this is amazing. But that's often not conveyed. When it's text, it's like, I'm like, every girl I ever meet, I'm like, this would be really fun. Like, if you actually knew, if there wasn't this like asymmetry in information, if you want to go back to that, it's like, I know I'm dope. You have no fucking clue right now. But if we met and talked, like, you'd realize it. Same thing here. It's like, I know, whatever. We want to work together. You want to work together, but we're like at this weird fucking tension point and we just can't meet in person. Like, I'm really worried right now that Scott's never going to meet with us in person. This is how it ends. And I'm like, if we just need like 30 seconds on a phone right now would salvage everything.
And the content is so good. We sent a clip this morning.
It was really good.
Like one of the best clips ever from them.
And that's, so when we got on the phone with
How are
Sam,
you gonna stop you?
Sam's like, hey, it was just us three because Scott refused to show up, which is fair. Like it seemed like it was sprung on him, which we've been springing a lot on him. But Sam's like, okay, content isn't the issue. Your content's amazing. The results
Performance
are there.
is not the issue.
There's a shitload of money coming in. The reason why you're hardly getting any, if any at all, like the reason why you're getting almost none of it is because everyone hates you right now. You're douchebags. You're the bros. And everyone in the corporate world hates bros. That's just the villain now.
And he was like, I've been labeled as that villain. And he told us this 6 months ago. He said, guys, do everything in your power not to be labeled as bros. And it's funny because we're not.
Tony?
That's why I'm like,
help Tony.
Tony needs to run the company. What do you think would have happened if Tony and Maura got on the phone?
Over.
It's over. It's $1 million. Shane Mack said, don't be bros. Hire an operator to get away from the optic that you guys are just bros that have hired a bunch of people remote.
Half of me wonders, like,
our team's mostly women, by the way.
I know, it's funny. And the guys, half of them are also seemingly gay. Like, we're probably the most inclusive company in terms of like diversity overall. But the vibe is like, it's fucking 30 dudes just jerking each other off.
Yeah.
We're awesome. It's almost, we're doing reverse sales. It's hilarious. Like, actually working with us. Like, marketing is this. You want to make the product seem amazing, and then you get in and oftentimes it's like not as good as what you sold, but it's like good enough. Here, we're like, the product's shit. Like, you don't want to work with us. And then you get in and it's like, this is amazing. But our copy on the Rulebook just fucking makes us seem terrible. But that gets back to like option one, where we want to grow. We're doing what's best for the business. Hire a female operator or whoever, but just like someone who's not very bro-y. They operate it. 2, we keep the Rulebook. We double down.
Mm-hmm.
We only work with people that are just on board, that are super cool. Probably going to tend to be bros. I don't know if we necessarily want to do that, but I do think that's more honest to us and kind of at least my mission, which is like, everyone's serious. What the fuck? Like, why can't we swear on a page?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because HubSpot's like, you're going to swear in our copy, and then, which we won't, but it makes it seem that way. It makes us, it's so fucking funny. It gets back to we don't, be okay releasing with the typo. And I don't think we have released. We literally don't. We just want to like scare them for the worst so that the expectations are terrible. And then it comes back and like, wow, this is actually amazing, which might not be the best approach.
And because if we do miss something, we can be like, we're human.
Right.
The document's meant to be, we're human. We're creators. We're head down in our computers.
That's one of the like rules. Instead of stop giving a fuck, it's we're human.
We're human.
That sounds a
Your
lot
editor,
better.
and this is why I would say like I give Kent a pretty easy time. You've been in that spot. It's like, that's a human being. Head down on a computer for 9 hours straight. Like I think our clients need to understand, like we probably understand, that when that creator turns in something they're proud of, to point out typos or like graphical mistakes that could pass but aren't perfect, it's soul crushing. And even Sam said, like, the problem here is you guys hurt some people's feelings at HubSpot. This is all just, he's like, the product's great. I like you guys. I actually like the rulebook because I'd be a good fit. Problem is, I'm not making the decisions anymore. So he's like, all this is a human thing. It's a human emotional thing. It's a relationship thing.
If the rational decision is look at what we've done, the rulebook's exactly that. We haven't had a phone call with them. I talked to Scott 6 months ago once, and now they get upset because we put that in writing and say we don't do phone calls, which is essentially what we did. They just are risk averse, or not risk averse,
Loss averse.
Loss averse.
They were losing the option to have a meeting.
They should have the option, or else things like this might happen.
That's funny because all that changed is they didn't have the option to have a meeting. But we never had them.
Right.
So it was just the writing. And we do meet with people.
So this is one of those pivotal moments in the company where yesterday we were talking about this, but this is like the final straw in, hey, we don't have to mold the company to us. We can keep the company like a normal company and remove ourselves.
Right. Just if our weakness is
for example,
clients, then we don't face clients. Somebody else does, and we go build the next thing. If our strength is starting things, but you also like phone calls. It's just
I enjoyed the fuck out of the phone call with Sam. What I liked about it was, I was mid workout, but I'm like, fuck it, I'll get on the phone because Sam. We're both here because we idolize Sam and we just like look up to him and his podcast and everything he does. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's actually fun to talk to people. Like, people like hanging out with people. So
maybe because let's say Sam was scheduled for 10 a.m. Central. That's when the call was.
I would have been stressed out.
You would have been stressed out of your mind. You wouldn't have slept last night. We would have been prepping at 8 a.m. Instead, I pinged Sam. I'm like, yo, can you get on in 5? He's like, yup. We did it. 10-minute call. Not so bad. Really.
I think the problem, though, is in this case, Scott wouldn't get on the phone.
Sam's an anomaly there where he doesn't schedule calls and he'll just get on them and be flexible like that. But most people, i.e. Scott, Dan, other people over there, they need them scheduled. Me, to a large extent, need them scheduled.
I'm thinking about their gossip. I would love to like hear their
side,
their phone calls. Because Sam was like, yo, everyone hates you in HubSpot right now. Because you get on the Zoom calls, they're all talking. They're trying to build out content for the hustle and My First Million. And they talk about you. Like, they're swearing in the rule book. They're telling us no phone calls. They're ignoring our emails because we hate email. Fuck these people. And now they have their little drama bubble. We have our drama bubble. They haven't collided yet. I would love to send them a compilation of this roller coaster of a relationship. But
yeah, right.
It might be too far gone right now. Because
I don't know. I think we'll take all the blame, but I think we're also neglecting it. It's not so one-sided.
Well,
that's never made our lives easy.
Sam. So the problem, and we kind of understood this from the start, was they created this. Smart Nonsense. I would still be working with Todd. They basically gave us our
Sam and Sean
shot start.
Yes,
they launched
Sam
us.
and Sean launched us.
That's the truth. And they felt like they did us a favor. And we use that favor to let all this pride and ego get to our head, and then we come back 6 months later, and we're like, hey, you know how we owe you everything? Well, fuck you guys. Here are the terms. Sign up long term. From our perspective, and this was new to Sam,
Right.
we had a $35,000 budget. They were supposedly going to increase that to over $50,000
in a month.
We're building a team we essentially did free work. We did $15,000, $20,000 worth of free work the month prior. We paid that out of pocket. So I had no money. You barely had money. Covered all those costs. They were paying late. So our cash flow was fucked. We were essentially, I mean, you can listen back. I was debating firing people on the team because we're like, we can't make payroll. Because they went from $35,000 down to $15,000. And Scott was the one that had that conversation with us.
And so for the last 6 months, we were like, and once things turned and we took that and used it as action, we're like, we owe these guys nothing. Sam said some big, bold things that ended up fucking us.
And they didn't post our clips.
They didn't post our clips. We're like, we owe them nothing.
So I think that's where the radical honesty in person is good. Because if we say 4 months ago, we had a call with Scott and Sam, maybe Sean and us too. I'm like, hey, completely understand. We went crazy with the budget. That was your fault for promising it, but we didn't lock in a contract. So whatever, we've kind of fucked ourselves. The reason why the budget was cut was because we weren't getting as many views, but it's also because you aren't sharing. So how are we going to get the views? You're not actually putting out the content we're making. I don't think they're aware of that. At least we try to do it in writing, but who knows who saw what.
Well, they fired the person who was in charge of that.
Right. That was their solution, but that didn't change anything for us. So I think they're still largely unaware of how much they've fucked us. So if we were able to verbalize that better in the past, I think they would have more empathy for how we feel right now. I empathize with how they feel. I think, well, I'm learning more and more as we go how douchey we sound, because I love that rule book. But I also get that from people a lot, where I'm like overly pushy. I'm like not a very pulley person, like a lovey person. Like even like I just tease the fuck out of people, and like that's my fun. But I'm never like saying genuine compliments, even though I also feel those things. I just like I'm not used to it. Or like you would never do that with guy friends really growing up.
Oh yeah, it's way harder.
It's like, when would you give an honest compliment to a guy? So that's like the new thing for me. But I think having both sides of that, especially on calls in person, now everyone's on the same page. I'm just trying to think, how would we have approached this differently?
It would have been, I think what it is, like you said, radical honesty on the phone 4 months ago.
That's so Netflix no rules. When they talk about feedback, and it's got to be actionable, aiming to assist, the first two items, it's also got to be immediate, as in like right when it happens, that's when you give the feedback.
What did Scott say when you said all this to his face? That's what we should have been saying 4 months ago.
Yeah, part of me is like, should they have known that when Scott said, hey, we're cutting your budget from 35,000 down to like 10 to 15,000, are we like, that's fine, just know you're about to bankrupt us. We're gonna figure it out. That's not your issue.
Just know.
But we did you a favor in covering a free month. We paid that ourselves. We were asked to do a long-term contract. We're like, no, let's just do month by month. And now it feels like we're being fucked. We know you started this, so we're grateful for that. But you're almost ending this as well. Just so you were. We're going to figure it out. Don't worry about that. But in terms of like us owing you things, we don't feel a sense that we owe you anything right now.
This is like the ledger too. Everyone's got that ledger in their head. What they're giving, what they're taking. We've got a ledger. You have a ledger. I have a ledger. We've got a nuke boosted ledger together. Scott's got a ledger. Sam's got a ledger. Sean has a ledger.
Sean has no idea. He was probably caught off. I think it didn't help that Sean was like, I wanted to invest in these guys and get more involved. and they shot me down, he probably thinks like, oh yeah, they are douchebag. Like,
Sean's not gonna fight for us.
It all stems from us feeling like this ledger is not on their side. It's probably equal, honestly. It's like, you gave us the opportunity, you took it away, we figured it out, we're even. Roughly how I feel. I don't think they feel that way.
Maybe. So you messaged Scott. Really nice apology. Taking the blame for everything.
It's funny. I saw your message and you're like, dude, just get it the fuck out. It's always one of those. It's funny where I'm like, I open up the notepad, I share it with you. I'm like, yo, let's type this together. Let's put it out really good.
So that's another thing is like, we nuke boost each other like crazy. I think it's hilarious. But it also, there's a lot of upside to nuke boosting. There's a lot of downside. I think when we nuke boost too far, rabbit hole echo chamber, we literally think the same. So we don't have like 2x the brain. We got like 64 times the brain. It's the rocket ship. It's rocket ship brain. And I think, like I said, you're disproportionately right. The problem is, if you're wrong, our nuke boost.
You're too agreeable to tell me I'm wrong.
No, it's fuzzy. It's fuzzy. I'm like, Dylan's right. Dylan has changed the way I do business. That was objectively right. Opportunity cost stuff we do, objectively right. Travel, all these things. So when you're wrong, well, I just err on the side of rightness until there's data otherwise. This is that data.
I'm hoping Sam is like, hey, I forgot these guys are actually good.
He's also got, Sam even said like Scott's going through some other things unrelated. So
right.
People have multiple ledgers. Scott's got a life ledger. And this is so much of what our heart to heart was yesterday. It's like, I've got a life ledger and a business ledger and a best friend ledger.
Part of the problem is, I think internally, they don't have a good communication system. They're not always on the same page. So their ledger is skewed with all this asymmetric information, with people knowing different things.
And using it against one.
So
before you read that, I wrote a heated response, mildly heated response to Sam that I was going to do over text. I didn't send it. I cooled down. We didn't send it to get on a call. But whatever. At the end of it, the point I made was, I actually don't think the hustle is a good fit at HubSpot. That's the OG pirate ship.
I know. I
even wrote like, the hustle pirate ship will sink or something. It's not even our place to say that, but I think the hustle is more like us. The hustle, Sam said the hustle was stoked they found us. Like you and I were a diamond in the rough entrepreneurs. Sean told us that.
But I think that's the problem of now we're in the big leagues. I'm sure, for example, Carmen right now of Social Capital, I think she would be more responsive if we didn't have the broy, cocky vibe. I think she's hesitant. She's like, oh, I don't. For context, she's a Harvard person through and through. So this is probably, she's never seen anything like this before. It's like, wow, I'm used to people treating each other nicely. Probably even costing us a lot of money. Probably. I would say like $500,000.
Probably. Even look at someone like Steve Jobs. Largely hated with a lot of respects. Probably would be described as a lot of these things. Cocky, douchey, arrogant. Also, incredibly compassionate.
Is that true?
Yeah. Maybe if he liked you. He'd make a display of you if you were being silly. But
well, so again, my question is, do we just try and find the hustles, which tend to not have as much money? Because anytime something grows, you're going to have a bigger company. And then I think internally and with your customers, you're reaching a broader audience. So you can't stay in your little niche. Now you have to be a little bit.
It's just diplomatic. You have to bend a little bit. Or you say, no, we don't. We're not working with large corporations because that's antithetical to who we are philosophically. You can make that decision. I think we get an operator and bend a little bit.
Right.
And then come in and you and I, as kind of the mentors of that operator, be like, don't bend there, don't bend there. Feel free to push back there.
Right.
Thank you for being right. Thank you for taking otherwise, but you need to give Scott.
Yeah, I want to go back to the original messages.
Those were a blast.
You basically sent the Zoom thing, and you're like, "Yo, let's hop on in 5 minutes."
Because I'm like, hey guys, like I'm talking to everyone independently. I'm like, Dylan can come on, Sam can come on. Sam told me Scott can come on, so I make a group chat. I'm like, guys, let's get on in 5.
Thought nothing of it. Then we get a hey. This is Scott. Hey, I asked Dylan to schedule time to meet on 8/31, about a month ago.
August 31st.
Yeah, I've never been invited into a meeting. We have an entire email thread negotiating our future, and you're scheduling a meeting with Sam. I really don't have time for a partnership like this. Then I respond, when do you want to talk? I think text isn't good. This is like super.
This isn't a frenzy.
This is a frenzy. So like not the best responses on either side probably. Scott.
To paint the picture of the frenzy, I'm sitting in Slack. I see both Dylan is typing, Scott is typing. I'm like, oh, fuck.
I know.
Frenzy.
Scott. I've literally tried everything to land you both an opportunity to secure budget, and you refuse to meet with me.
That's one that needs to be cleared up on the phone, because we feel like he has not done everything to fight for us and secure budget. He keeps telling us, I cannot secure budget. And he doesn't know that we think that.
Even imagine in person, like we're doing this on Zoom. In person, it's so much more real too. Dude, this would never happen in person. Okay, I respond. Agree. That's why I want to all talk. I think we're all friendly. Just text got weird. I'm sorry. Scott. This isn't how to manage business development, and I'm not sure how sidestepping me is going to solve this.
That's bad optics on text, because we weren't sidestepping. This was drawn up in 2 minutes, but
it was, hey Sam, yesterday, you know we're cutting clips? No. Okay, you want to get on the phone and talk about it? Yeah. All right, how about in 5 minutes? Then I respond. This was originally Henry talking to Sam to fill him in on no clips for MFM because it seemed like that wasn't clear, but then it evolved to this. But we can talk whenever you want. Again, apologies. Okay. Then we talk to Sam on the phone. Sam's like, guys, you're being douches. Just fucking swallow your pride. Send him an apology. Okay. I take a little while. I'm crafting it. And he's like, just get it the fuck out. Like, okay. Scott, we're in the wrong on all of this. There are a million ways we've handled this terribly, and I'm sorry. This was meant to just be an impromptu call between Henry and Sam to fill him in on no MFM clips. He didn't seem to know. Then they realized best to add us. We didn't realize how bad we are at text-only communication and how douchey we come across. That's the furthest from who we are and how we'd like to work together. We owe so much to you, Sam, and the team for helping build us up, and we hate having created this situation. We want to talk because I think that help us explain a lot of this miscommunication on our end, and at the very least, apologize. Again, I'm sorry for all of this. I hope we can find a way to talk again.
That's it.
The only thing we're trying to do now is just get Scott to be okay with like a 2-minute phone call. Like, Scott, we're sorry. Sorry. If you want to know like our end, why we were so oblivious to all of this, we can tell you about it. But honestly, that doesn't matter. We enjoy working with you. We understand we fucked up, and like, how do we make this work? Because we think we can do amazing things together. At the end of the day, this drama shouldn't mean anything. How do we figure out the long-term way to work together?
Right.
At the end of the we don't need you. Like, oh, I'm not going to tell them this, but like, we honestly don't need you. Like, if anything, we just like don't want bad blood.
Well, and what they did to us, we took as so much motivation to not need them. We said like, the hustle was our only client for a while. We're like, that is bad. We need to make sure we have 7 clients so that they don't make up 15% of our revenue. Because if they do, then they control us. So we did that. We ran like mad to make that happen. Yeah,
Sam, that's what was funny, because they'd always talk about how well we're doing. And Sam's like, oh, well, we cut your budget, but didn't you have like 8 clients? Like, dude, when did you think? That was like a month into, you guys gave us like it was literally a month and a half into like being a company, and you think we have 8 clients paying us $15K each? you think we're making 100? I don't know how he thought that, but that's why they didn't feel like they were fucking us.
Well, because we didn't even talk open and honestly with Sam. I feel like we're not doing that well.
Negotiating is just weird to me. We're kind of in a cool place where we just have our rates and it's like take it or leave it, so we don't have to negotiate. But now I'm even thinking now, like,
should rates not be fixed?
No, they should. I'm just thinking,
should there be
like,
different packages?
I'm just thinking, would I be more honest now? Yeah, I think what we said earlier is like, hey, we're a new company. You're cutting the budget. We're not going to make payroll. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about us. Just so you know
where the ledger is in our head. Or not even that we're going to carry a ledger. It's just like put yourself in our shoes.
I wonder how much they've tried to do that. Not trying to like take all of this off of us, but how much.
Right. I'm wondering like how much pride has Scott swallowed, or is he going to swallow here?
More. Like that's the one thing that I think we're kind of good at. I mean, apparently we suck at empathy, but like I feel like we tried to empathize, but I don't know. That's the thing, because he's like, let's get on a phone call. We shot him down pretty hard, but we got really upset because he was assuming, he's like, oh, my sense is you guys are going bankrupt.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
Yeah. Well, did you have that sense when you actually made us go bankrupt?
I forgot about that
one.
Make
me get upset again.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
I don't know. People aren't douchebags. They're only douchebags on text. Sometimes in person too, but so at this point, I think what this taught us. No one's probably listening, but that's fine. This is just like a little.
It's gonna be the most listened to episode.
That's the by Scott part for sure. He's like, oh, that's what they were thinking. I think the takeaway is, this was me thinking about Netflix. We're essentially employees. I'm literally an employee of the business, also an owner, but that doesn't matter. You're pretty much the same. We do what is in Smart Nonsense's best interest.
Just fire us.
Fire us. Actually,
it's funny because we were going to hire my brother for a while. We were going down that path. We're like, no, we can do this. We can swallow our pride and we can do some of these things. And then Jack asked me for a meeting with David Sachs, or if I could link him up for 30 minutes. I'm like, just put it in text. I gave him the nuke boost.
I can't figure out where the line is, because there are calls. Most calls are actually useless. But I think the negotiation calls, but our thinking at the time, and I'm still kind of this belief, is, hey, the terms haven't changed. That's just the rates. Like, it's a take it or leave it sort of thing. There's nothing to actually discuss.
It would have just been different on a call.
What do you mean? Because, well, we could tell him that on a call, in essence. Like, hey, these are just the rates. But we know this is a lot, so like take however much time you need to think about it. But this is where.
Yeah, but I'm like, we just gave it in the form of paperwork, and we were like these shadow people, taking all this stuff away from them. So then the ledger in their mind, even though the terms were the same, the ledger blew up. Their ledger blew up. They're like, these guys are taking. They won't even get on a phone. Do they even? They're phantom people.
We gave them everything and they won't get on a fucking phone call?
Right. Think about that ledger. Even if it's misguided or our reference frame is different, we gave them everything and they won't get on a phone call now?
Yeah, I think, because I feel like we have as close to complete information as possible, because we're the ones in it. Whereas Scott, this isn't his top priority. He's only seen like flashes of things. Oh, they were nobodies. We gave them this, and whatever, he comes back in when he cuts our pay. That's all he really knows. So I think that's the issue. And probably being on the phone, it's easy to clear up a lot of that context that's missing. And that's no rules. Like, to make proper decisions, you need all the context. If you don't have it, that's the problem. Yeah, whatever. So it sounds like from today, we realized, yes, we should have phone calls. Should we be doing them? Maybe not.
Or maybe we do those big rare phone calls.
I love being on the phone. I love talking. I love hanging out with people. I just hate when I have to form my life around it.
Right.
So maybe that's somehow, I think that's what's nice about Dharmesh's no calls is it's very like, this is my problem and this is how I've solved it. It's like, here's my problem. I love talking to people on the Rulebook.
Maybe that's what it needs to
I
be.
love it. We can't plan our days around it unless it's imperative.
Yeah.
Because we've found most of the time it comes down to a message. Like, that's the context I think people need in the Rulebook that's missing.
It's us,
Right.
not you.
And that's
we knew
the
that.
difference between Dharmesh and
we
Alex.
tried to write for that, and we edited that document to be like, this is an us problem. We're not taking things away from you, but we didn't do it well enough.
So,
right? The end of the document says we don't do meetings, we don't do calls, we don't do ASAP, we don't do weekends. It's a little bit because of the client, but it's mostly us. We will burn out. You and I and the team.
Sam said something about, I'm trying to think back to the Rulebook. He said, this is one of those documents where it's dope for only one person. That's you. For everyone else, the clients that you're trying to sell, trying to work with long term, kind of sucks. Like, it's not what's in it for me. I mean, what's in it for me, we tried to bake that in with like, this is perfection through iteration, not revision. Like, hey, we're going to get you the perfect content over time, just trust us. But it was too pushy. It wasn't, hey, this is the best way we can work together, is we're going to have those important calls, figure out strategy together, implement them going forward by just iterating a lot, just making awesome content as much as possible. But here's where we burn out, and here's where we can't serve you any longer. It's when we have unnecessary phone calls. It's when we're going through email. It's when we're, I don't know, fucking revising everything. And we say, why? Okay, so we've learned to avoid these because that's what gets you the best results, and we're going to love working with you. I think that's the way to frame all of this, where it's still honest to us. That's probably more honest, because I don't think we're naturally not that pushy of people. We're not like, hey, fuck everybody, fuck you all.
Don't release typos.
Right.
And you don't actually hate phone calls.
Yeah, maybe we say that in typos. Like, I think we kind of do, but it's like we make every effort, and I don't think we've actually ever released a typo. But if one does slip out,
we laugh.
We have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It happens. So that's two things at least to do today. Well, three things. Ideally is get on the phone with Scott, but it's probably not going to happen. One thing, figure out who's going to essentially replace us, because we do have to have phone calls. I think they're important. We'll probably be on a few of them occasionally, but it sounds like someone might be running the company instead of us. We're going to revise the Rulebook to make it more inclusive, because I think I prefer that to running sort of the lifestyle business, but that's a little bit stressful because they don't have money. So we're going to be like stressed out for different reasons. I'd rather have too much money and be like, oh, how do we dial back the phone calls? And I guess talking to Scott, or like figuring out how to make amends, which is just a phone call.
It's just a phone call. That's it. You want an adage? It's only a mistake.
Hey, good news.
If you don't learn from it.
We're learning from it. Second good news. We're going to start posting the ball clips. That's
nice.
Pretty cool.
Nice.
Main Instagram, smart.nonsense.
Thursdays and Sundays.
At Smart Nonsense on Twitter.
Smart Nonsense.
I'm really excited. I think that's actually going to do us a lot of good.
Yeah. We just need another person to run that.
That's all we got. Well, change of pace. A little bit of Peter McKinnon vibes on this one. But it's good. Anything else would have been dishonest. Bye. Lovely.